What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about HIM and HERS Health, ticker HIMS. They do have their earnings coming up. I want to go over some expectations, support and resistance points, and where it might be going. Before we get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off at the time of doing this video, sitting at $49.28. That's after Friday's crazy pullback, down 25.79%. Over the last 1 year, though, it is still up 423.7%. Over the last 6 months, up 197.4. So Friday's pullback kind of sucks for short-term investors, but long-term, it's just a small blip. But as far as the earnings, it is on the 24th after the market does close. 22 cents for the earnings per share, 470.5 million for the revenue. And then over the last 90 days, 2 positive, 0 negative revisions to the earnings per share, giving you a little bit more of a deeper dive. So that 11 cents works out to be 992.6% year-over-year growth, 7 cents the low, 16 the high, based on 11 analysts. Quickly looking here, 470.5 million for the revenue. That works out to be 90.78% for year-over-year growth. 467 mil for the low, 475 for the high. So kind of tight for that. So we'll just have to wait and see. But it's no different than any other company right now. It's going to be the future guidance. That is going to be one of the biggest deciding factors, whether this is a successful earnings or not. But looking right over here, the implied move is 20.57. So it has not been this volatile since like mid 2022, when that was like 30% almost. But at the time it was at $3. So definitely take that into consideration. A lot of volatility. But as far as the last several earnings, it does actually beat a good around 50% of the time. Last 2 earnings, not necessarily so much one day after. It wasn't until roughly like 1 week that's when the market started to really appreciate it. But historically speaking, there's roughly around a 50% kind of win-loss from their previous earnings. This 20.57% implied move works out to be a $10 move in either direction. Based on the options, the calls, you can kind of see that there is a anticipation for it to be roughly around, it looks as though, that $54 to $60 range. So that's kind of the bulls, what they're thinking. The bears, they are saying for the most part, it looks as though for it to be sub $44 to $43. So in reality, a little bit more upside is anticipated. And it's interesting though, both a set of options, both calls and puts, are within the parameters of 20.57%. So ultimately, people are anticipating less volatility from this. So something to kind of consider looking at shorts. I always like to analyze what shorts are doing. So ultimately, shorts are and have been returning a small amount ever since the peak of roughly 29.88%. So there could be a couple of different attributing factors to this. They might just be kind of returning lately because of the recent price action, and so they're just getting kind of stopped out. So that could be one thing. Or they might actually be somewhat optimistic about their upcoming earnings. So could be one of 2 factors. We'll just have to wait and see how that plays out though. DTC 3.47 going into this week, 28.57% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 53.99 million shares. Even though it did pull back a ton, you did have shorts return roughly around 89,000 shares, and that is right there. Short score 51.12, utilization is 11.64. As far as right now, just look under the classic. So with it at $49 and change, it is right on this R2 for the most part. So 49.36 will be a key pivot. Aside from that, you have 36.77 being the strong support, 76.29 being the next strong target / resistance. So anticipate a lot of volatility regardless. But obviously, depending on if it's seen as bullish or bearish, it's just going to stay within either the R2 and R1 or R3 and R2. I don't see any breakouts or breakdowns unless it is rather like miss. So again, earnings per share and revenue are good, but I think for the most part, the market is looking for future guidance. If they miss on all 3 fronts, then yes, you're going to see a very significant pullback. So this is a quick summary on exactly what you need to know going into their upcoming earnings. post earnings. If you're wanting an update, I can definitely do that. Go over some of the absolute key highlights from their earnings that you need to just be aware of. And then again, analyze the same type of information just to see potentially at that stage where it might be going. So if you want that, throw a comment in the description below. Aside from that, give yourself a shout out if you do own it already, if you sold on Friday, or what you've been doing. One final thing, pop over to my Discord. It is completely free. Link in the description below and also the comments. A lot of good people, a lot of good chat. Go talk on options, stocks, whatever floats your boat. So definitely take a look at that. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.